Financial advisors love to talk, love to explain different things. Well, here's one topic they don't really like to talk about: how exactly they get paid. How your advisor gets paid helps shape the types of services that they're going to provide you. And I think it's important to understand what incentivizes them. I'm not here to tell you what the best model is, but as I heard in a YouTube video a long time ago, when there's an elephant in the room, go ahead and introduce them. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about how people like me get paid. Let's first talk about the three different models. First model is the old school traditional route. This is a model where they're paid a commission for putting you in certain products. Those include mutual fund families, such as American funds are a very popular one, or things like annuities. The pros are there's no ongoing fee. And there's definitely a certain type of people that if you're a buy and hold type investor, these can be pretty good options for you to keep costs low over a long period of time. Now, what are the cons? Well, I think those are pretty obvious. There could be a conflict of interest because they could be recommending to put you into products, not necessarily because that they are the best for you, but because they're going to pay a very nice commission to them and fill their pockets. I'm not saying that's always the case, but there's always that, I would say, hesitation for people when they hear that someone's getting a commission. The other problem I can have with this model is sometimes people will say, oh, there's no cost to you. Well, there's always a cost, right? It doesn't matter whether it might be like an upfront cost. It could be an ongoing cost. It could even be the fact that you can't move your money. In products like annuities, there's something called a surrender charge, where if you move your money out before a certain period of time has elapsed, they're going to pay you a fee. It's just a different type of cost that may not be very apparent from the onset. The second model is called fee-based. This is a combo hybrid model. It does allow advisors to get paid commissions, but they're also able to charge fees for things like financial advice. This is probably the most common model you'll see advisors use nowadays because it is the best of both worlds. And it gives a lot of flexibility for advisors to be able to recommend certain commission-based products that might be good for people, like I said, that maybe have a buy and hold type mentality. Now, the main thing is transparency, making sure that people are aware, hey, this does pay fee to me, as opposed to, oh, there's no cost to you. It's the same message given in two different ways. You start to blur the lines here when you're using a fee-based model because a lot of these advisors will be fiduciaries, legally required to put other people's interests in front of their own as far as their business dealings. But it depends on the situation whether or not they're acting fiduciary capacity. Once again, always helps, I think, to ask questions. Now, the third model is fee only. So this is where advisors are not allowed to accept commissions for products, and they only charge fees for their financial advice or planning or things of that nature. This one's gotten more popular. It has a lot of strong merits, right? It's easy to see that the advisor is going to be incentivized to actually provide good service, which is great. But the thing is, the downside I see with this type of model is that it can price people out because if people aren't getting commissions, a lot of times these flat fee advisors, they have pretty high fees because they have to get their income somewhere. And so a lot of times it's going to be coming from the client as opposed to different companies. As I said before, I don't necessarily think one model is the best model of these three. I think it depends on who's your target client. Who are the people that you want to service? Because for example, there's this flat fee advisors that are fee only. So they charge a flat fee. A lot of times those fees are thousands of dollars. I would say most of the time see fees between $6,000 to $12,000 a year. It's a lot of money, especially for people who are early on in the investment process. So they're going to get priced out of that model and they're going to have to go to either a commission or a fee-based model in order probably to get the service that they need at a price point they can afford. It's just a very easy example to point out. One model isn't great for everybody. You need to understand your situation. What's the level of service that you're looking for? And then find an advisor that fits into it. The other thing is that there are often hidden costs that you won't hear about. The biggest one I see over and over again are expense ratios. So when an advisor puts you into a mutual fund, they will have what's called an expense ratio. It's how much it costs to be in that fund. Almost nobody talks about this because I ask a lot of clients that are coming from other advisors if they're even aware how much it's costing them to be in the funds they're in. A lot of times they have zero idea. So that's just one of those hidden secrets that a lot of times they're not paying attention to. But once again, ask questions, do some research, understand it. The other one that maybe isn't so common anymore was trading costs. don't really see these, but just to be aware, it used to cost money every time you made a trade. I still do see those at Charles Schwab. Sometimes they will charge a $15 fee to make a trade. Well, those can add up pretty quickly. So just be aware that there are still trading costs on some platforms. I would say overall, the thing that bothers me about my industry and that I see is a lot of times the biggest costs are the ones you don't see or hear about. It's these hidden costs inside. And so just always be asking questions, especially if it's about a certain product. Insurance products are notorious for this, but really it's not confined to that area of my industry. I can't say it enough, over and over. Make sure they're being transparent with you. They're laying out all the additional costs. The other thing I'll say from the financial planning front, things I see are these kind of extra costs. There's a cost for onboarding new clients. I see people charge. They'll charge for financial planning, for tax planning, for estate planning. Once again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a problem, but know what you're getting into and know how these things add up. Because they'll say, oh, it only costs X amount, and maybe that amount doesn't sound that high to you. But when you start layering on all these services they're providing, you add up all the costs, it can be pretty expensive. So just ensure they're being transparent with you. You understand how much it's costing you in the long run. So when it comes down to it, financial advisors aren't doing this for free, right? We have families to support, businesses to run, things of that nature. And I think it is fair as long as the value you're receiving is greater than what you're being charged. That's the magic sauce. Be sure you're asking questions about how you're being charged and what services you're getting in return. Because in the end, it can be a beautiful symbiotic relationship where both advisor and client are better off in the long run with each other.